I don't feel like I usually have the sentiments that I do in knowing what I know before I'm going to share what I'm going to share with this review, but I guess I'm just going to have to take it one by one point and get to that final point. So let's get down to it. Welcome back to Y.E.S, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the debut album by Jessie Reyez titled Before Love Came to Kill Us. How romantic. Miss Reyez is a Canadian artist with a Colombian descent, if I'm not mistaken, and I know for a fact that I've heard her in a couple of features or something in that prior to hearing anything that she had released on this album. And this album actually came out a few months ago, and I did listen to it back then, and I've put it off for a long time because I wasn't sure how or if I wanted to review it. Mostly how I figured I would want to review it, but I was very conflicted on what I thought was actually going to happen, but I can't really get to that point unless I give it that second listen usually. So I took some time, wrote out some thorough notes per song, and I decided, okay, I think I'm ready now. This is one of those albums where I knew that beforehand I definitely was going to have hesitations, but I do remember the first time listening to it thinking, there was a few things in there that I thought were pleasant. So I need to trace my steps back and see what percentage of those positive moments will hold this album up for me or not at all. Okay, so I think I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to start from beginning to end, and then if I miss something or if I feel like something needs to be mentioned at a particular point, I'm just going to do it that way. The very first song, Do You Love Her? This song demonstrates her traditional way of singing or just vocal delivery, if you will. I would describe it as grimy baby talk. I don't even know how to do this without sounding weird. Would you just sing this sound enough? And normally I would think that my voice would be higher trying to say this to you. Does that sound weird to you? Because that's the way that it comes off. And that's the majority of her vocal delivery throughout the album. It's just that this first song, and actually the next song as well, automatically turned me away from believing that something else interesting will persuade me to continue listening to it. Especially the second song, Deaf. The only words that came to my mind was, what the crap. That's it. And having said that, the third song, Intruders, we make a 180. So please no intrude. And she uses kind of more of a soft-spoken kind of singing style that would kind of be more of a Billie Eilish approach with an old-school hip-hop beat. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's okay. I'm not sure if that's exactly what needs to be done or if it's exactly what you're most comfortable with, but that works better. And unfortunately, that's the only song that takes that approach. The fourth song, called Coffin, which has Eminem in it. It has weird production inserts in the song, which turned me off quite a bit. The instruments that are played in that song are actually decent. They're fine. But the production inserts were like, why? The following song, Ankles, it feels like a hazy prison cell song. I would rather not be in that situation where this song's ambiance feels appropriate to play. I just would like to avoid that. The following song, Imported, with the artist Black. The beat is actually okay. I don't mind this. And the lyrics and vocals, they're decent, but I wouldn't really say that they're the highlight. The following song, La Memoria, she decides to use her Spanish, and she is kind of still using the grimy baby talk style, when she speaks Spanish, but it is not as annoying. It kind of comes off as like, I could believe that this would be more of a style for Latin, which also confuses me a lot because this album is marketed as an R&B album, and from a certain point of view, I can believe that. But really, I have no idea what genre this album is. I really don't. There's a lot of me that wants to say hip-hop, but I can't honestly say that it is. And with all these additional Latin elements in here, it just kind of tears everything apart into this gunky thing that I can recognize is a attempt at a music project. Going down to the song Roof, she has kind of an interesting, very quick, almost rap-ish delivery in here, which I thought worked really well. And it's funny because it's a very short song, and I actually thought that that was appropriate, but the content of the song is not something I would want to return to itself, just the style of the delivery. The song Dope, I actually think this beat is okay, despite it sounding like it has a simplistic beat. The lyrics are a no-go for me on this. Love in the Dark. This is a interesting ballad, and the last song, Figures. Now, when I listened to this song the first time, I actually watched the music video with it, and I deemed this pretty awful and uninteresting. Listening to just the song, it's barely bearable, but I have so many aspects of it that I do not care for. So let me try to summarize how I feel about this album. Most of you are going to assume that I don't like most of the lyrical content. I don't. I think there's one or two songs that are mostly fine, and the ones that aren't really, I guess you would use the word offensive, are kind of just bland. They're just kind of there. They're not really that interesting. Or if they're somewhat better than okay, the vocal delivery will hinder it a lot for me, depending on which of those songs it is. The production, it's trying to be okay up there. There's a few songs in here that are just not paying off. There's plenty of them that work fine, and then there's a few that I think, that was all right. That was all right. And then the creativity, I am literally split down the middle. I'm being as literal as possible. Literal. I'm split down the middle for the entire album. Some creative aspects work, and some of them just are like there, and they're just kind of in this okay range over here. And then the rest of it is just like things that just kind of make me think of this murky, gunky, weird, grimy place that I would rather not be in, nor want to recommend to anyone else to try and experience. So that leaves me in a spot where I'm just like, that doesn't seem like something I'd want to share with other people. Okay, this part I have to read just to make sure I get the point clear. The creativity aspects I disapprove of feel counterproductive, or at best counterintuitive to the music's potential. There's plenty of potential points to say that something went on in the studio that wouldn't have worked, but there's so much of kind of her vocal delivery that makes me think that everyone else kind of agreed that this was a solid direction for her to go into. And I'm sure that there are some people who are on board with it from some sort of angle, but it's not one that, for the most part of this album, that I think is really recommendable. I'm trying to be as fair as I possibly can. I really don't feel like I have to overreact to the negativity that I experienced in this album, because I want to really give some praise to some of those minute moments where I was like, you know, I don't like the majority of what you're doing, but you have something that could be twisted into something else that could really work, but I don't feel like that is the direction she actually wants to go into. So after having listened and reviewed this album, I'm going to give production a C-, creativity an F, and expression and lyrics an F. And this album's recommendation is going to get... There's an ever so small part of me that thinks it can get an okay, but I know deep down that I don't know anyone who I would honestly want to recommend as an album to another living soul. The elements that I've highlighted in this review, please, if you want to go, check it out and make a decision for yourself. Maybe you have a different point of view on this album. This is such a hazily convoluted album with a delivery that I think is her plan moving forward, and I don't see that as her strongest suit. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me, be sure to check out my social media links down in the description below. Be sure also to leave a like and leave a comment down below if you so care to engage with me. If you also want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get that yes in your life. See you next time.